Hey, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing today? So today is Wednesday, right? April 14th. It is now 8 p.m. and Mark is not here. That's okay because you have me. So I'm thankful for you guys to listen in, chime in today, and join us for a very special show. Um, we have the creator or the owner of Collectable. If you have no clue what Collectable is, it actually is a company that actually focuses on. So sorry, give me 1 minute. Uh. Fractional investing. Apologize. So I don't know. I'm a little nervous today. That's why I usually have Mark. But in this case, I just want to say we're thankful to have him here today. We're thankful for you guys to chime in. We appreciate your support. So let's get this stuff started. It's your boy PrizmGawd, and I'm back in the building. I know I was just having a little moment for a minute, but I just want to get it started for you guys. So today we're focusing on fractional investing. If you have no clue what that is, it's an alternative for people who are trying to invest in the hobby, right? So I got my guy here, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself shortly, but he actually took the time to come and work with us today and talk to about his company and actually how they can benefit us in the hobby. All right. So it's actually let's backtrack a little bit. Let's go back about a week or so. All right. For the last couple of weeks, I started hearing about fractional investing and I started trying to figure out. I never knew what the terminology of it was. What's up? What's up? First impressions. All right. So I really had no clue what fractional investing is. I know I heard of this company called Collectibles, but I really didn't even know what that was. So I took the time to download Collectibles and I'm like, well, Collectible. And I'm like, what is this? I don't really get it. But I started kind of like put two and two together. And I'm like, well, this company buys these high end cards and they allow you to invest in it for dollars, which I think is a great alternative. And, because I get people all the time who hit me up and they say, man, you know what? I'm interested in investing, but I don't know what to invest in. So the need of these companies are a must, especially for new people in the hobby. Let's backtrack a little bit, like a couple months ago. Um, Me and Mark, I'm sorry, Kobe Collector, we actually talked about the new companies in the hobby and how there was ways for us to make money. And because the hobby is still relatively new, we have all these opportunities, all these areas of opportunity to make things better, which is why I actually chose this company to kind of talk about going forward, which I think is a great way for us to educate ourselves and learn about fractional investing. Because if you're new to the hobby and you have no clue what to invest in, this is a need for you guys. This is for you. This episode is really for you guys. And as you guys know from previous shows, we like to take the time to educate the people out here in Prism God world. We want you to know what's going on. We want to talk about what's going on in the hobby, whether it be positive or negative. And in this case, I think this situation is a very positive situation for the hobby. And I'm gonna let you guys make your own assumptions. So if you're here, feel free to chime in, ask my boy Dan some questions. We're gonna talk about fractional investing as a whole, and let's talk about his company. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Dan Silver. I'm sorry, Dan Silvershine, and we're going to go ahead and talk about his company. Dan, you here?
I'm here. I really appreciate you having me on tonight.
That's so dope, man. I appreciate you coming out. So I know you had me like for a minute. I was kind of nervous for a bit, so you kind of got a good laugh on. But I usually don't start the show off without Mark, so now we kind of without Mark this episode. And it's probably the first time I actually have done the show without Mark, but we're gonna hold it down like we talked about a minute
I
ago
think
and
we'll be
try
all
to
right.
get this thing going. Yeah, I think so too. So can you tell us, Dan, how did you get into the industry?
Yeah, so I've actually been working in sports for a while. I always tell people I managed to pull off one of the greatest scams ever, which is I graduated college in 2010, and I've worked in sports since then. So I've done
Nice.
nothing but get to talk about sports all day, every day for the better part of 12, 13 years now. So
Nice.
my background, I've come from, I worked at a sports agency for a little while. I've worked in sports media, producing radio. I worked for one of the largest sports collectible companies in the world. And I've just been a collector myself for a while. So it seemed like
Mm.
a natural fit between my passions and sort of the career that I've had to date. And we were able to come together and sort of launch this fractional opportunity for everybody. And while I
Nice,
do
man.
appreciate the Battlefield promotion, it is important to clarify I'm the head of acquisitions and strategy. I'm not the owner. I'm not the founder, but I do appreciate the Battlefield promotion. I'll take it where I can get
Hey,
it.
hey, look, someday you'll be there. Someday you'll be
I'm
there.
happy to
So,
take it.
hey, there you go. So, I stand corrected, but with that, like I said, it's just we're still learning. I literally reached out to this guy like a couple days ago. So I love you guys taking the time to take the time to talk to us about what's going on. Let's talk about how you guys operate, how you guys work. So basically, with you focusing on acquisitions, that means you're responsible for finding the cards that are out there
Yep.
for your I guess what do you call it for the investors?
Yeah, investors, users, either one works.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. Are you a collector or you consider yourself a reseller? Are you more of a collector than a
I'm
reseller?
more of a collector. I've grew up collecting. I mean, I remember walking from Little League over into the center of town to go get ice cream, and then our local card shop was in the same like little strip mall shopping center as the ice cream place. So we used to go from Little League, go buy packs, Pokemon, sports cards, MLB Showdown, if anyone even remembers that.
Yeah,
And that's sort of how I came up collecting. And like a lot of people, I think I fell out of it in high school and college. And I guess as I got into my professional career, the first job I had when I came out was producing media. I worked at Sirius for them, working in sports radio. And one of the guys I worked with was a big card collector, got me back into it, and here we are.
that's how it works, man. It seems like everybody getting back into it. What year did you get back into it?
I'd say like 20, probably 13, maybe end of 13,
Okay.
beginning of 14 is when I kind of dove back in full steam, and obviously nice timing. I wish I had dove in
Hmm.
probably a year or two prior to that. But
You sound like me,
yeah,
right? Yeah, I feel like if I take a time machine and go back to like 2012 when my friend was telling me about Giannis base cards for $1, I would have been I'd been a millionaire by now. But
it's the amount of people that have retired off of Giannis and Luca will make you sick.
exactly, exactly. But hey, we got to find the next Giannis. We got to find the next Luca, and as we continue to try to make the hobby better, right? That's why your company is very important for the hobby for the future. Because as I had a segment on my YouTube actually is was saying is the hobby becoming more like the stock industry, right? And the answer to that question, the short answer is yes. Because if you notice, and I know the hobby, you guys probably pay attention to it with when your favorite player drops 40, your favorite quarterback throws 7 touchdowns in a weekend, your favorite running back rushes for 500 yards, their stuff thrives.
Yep.
And in the same breath, if somebody gets injured, somebody has a rough game, it kind of takes a decline as well. And we're not used to that. And like I said, we talked about in the past show is we're not used to that. So me being an older collector, originally I was an older collector, and then now seeing the new hobby where everything is moving so fast, we're starting to see numbers we've never seen before. And that's why I say your company is very important for the future. Um, because as new people get involved, they're kind of gotten nervous, scared. The hobby's becoming less accessible.
Yep.
And I say that because you have hundreds of people going to Target and Walmart buying retail, so you can't get in through retail
Camping out like
anymore.
it's Black Friday every week now. It's wild.
Exactly, exactly. So you got all these people buying retail, and then when you go to a hobby shop and you say Prism's $2,000, it's like, where do I start? And even if you think about the low end stuff still probably about $400 to $500.
Right.
So
I mean, by
where
the
do
way,
you start?
in today's world, if I was playing Little League and I was whatever 8, 9, 10 years old now, I wouldn't be able to afford to go walk and get ice cream and cards. I
Exactly,
wouldn't have the option
exactly.
anymore. It would
Yep.
not be an option. I could maybe go in and buy a single pack out of a retail box that someone happened to grab and then resell to my local card guy who's now selling it at
Hmm.
500% of Target. But that would be it. So there's
Yep.
barriers to entry, and that's really what we strive to break down. Are these barriers to
Mm.
entry?
Yeah,
And
I love it. I love it. Go ahead, continue.
I was going to say, and what we've kind of seen is consumer confidence and sort of the authenticity and knowing they're not getting ripped off, and that was always a big barrier. And you mentioned that of people not really being comfortable and kind of only wanting to dip one toe in, and sort of that's really what we're striving to not eliminate but soften for people coming in now is to feel like they know what they're doing, that they have the same equal playing field. It's the democratization of the hobby, really.
And I love it. And I actually love it because I literally talk to my friends and family about the hobby and how do I get in. And I have some friends, I had to say, hey, man, and this is probably about 6 months ago, 6 months to about a year ago. And I say, hey, man, if you want to get into the hobby, go retail, go buy some retail. If you can find the retail. And, one of the reasons why I love Prism so much is because it's one of those things where you can hit a grand slam with Prism.
It's one of the
Like
few
literally,
products where you don't
it's
need a
one of
hobby
the
product.
few. It's the one few you pull. You get lucky. You buy a blaster for $20. You pull a Zion number to 25. Now you up $5,000.
Yep.
You grade it. Maybe you up $20,000, and you spent $20 on the card plus grading. So that change. It changes the narrative a little bit if you're lucky enough to make that happen. But if you're not, then that's where the grind comes into play. And I always talk about this grind, which is why a lot of times I'm so tired. Is the grind, man, but I love it. So it's one of those. I travel every weekend. I go to shows. I go buy stuff, and I hit the
Yep.
retail. But this is where I'm at now. But when I first started, I had to do a lot more. And where you come into play is you simplify that. And I wanted to kind of have you talk to the people about how you simplify it by how do you go about how do you because you're in acquisition.
Mhm.
So walk me through the steps of how you go about. Walk me through the process of how you find a card and and steps after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So thankfully, we have a pretty good network now between sort of just myself, the other members we have on squad here, our cap table of collectors. We have built our team via collectors. That has been our sort of strategy. So as a result,
Okay.
we have a network of pretty high-end collectors. I'm a small fish in the grand scheme of things. You and I both know there's guys out there with multiple $1 million collections.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to know a lot of these guys and be friends with a lot of these guys from years of sort of swimming in that pool. But
Yeah.
these are the guys where we have these relationships and we're able to, as a result, source incredible items at incredible prices. And I think it gives
Yeah.
us a sort of leg up over everybody else in the space, that we do have this kind of close-knit network among collectors that we're really on the inside. So that honestly is the easiest way for me to explain how we acquire what we acquire, is just networking.
Just networking.
We to date have not purchased a single item at auction for our platform. Every item to date that we've worked on has been through just personal networking and
That's
consignment.
nice. And I mean it's really cool to do it that way because it's very similar to me, right? So I go to a show, I find a card, I like it, I buy it. I negotiate, I buy it. Very similar to you, but you're doing it as a company, right?
Right.
You represent a company. Hey, we want to acquire this card. We like to buy into it. How do you determine your value to buy
So
the card in or buy in?
we work internally. We have a group of sort of experts and appraisers that we consult both externally and internally. I mean, it's the same way anyone else is going to comp it. We use market comps. We look at recent auction results. We do have kind of the knowledge and access to a lot of quote unquote off books sales that might occur, private sales that occur at a show. I mean, you and I probably both saw stuff happen in Dallas that if you weren't in Dallas, you wouldn't have known that the sale occurred. So
Exactly.
just sort of, again, our network not only sources us items, but also information. So it's good to know what the kind of big guys in the pool are looking to acquire. Maybe you didn't hear about this public sale or that public sale, but we use all this information to kind of come up with a fair price.
All right, so we walk through the process of we acquire the card, you negotiate the card, and I saw it on an app, and I know this is kind of public information, so I just want to kind of talk about that. I see there's options out there where the owner can keep majority share of the card. How
Yeah,
does
so
that work?
we allow the original consigner to retain equity in their item if they so choose. This is a feature we have that I love. I know there's mixed reception publicly. Some people like the idea of an owner retaining equity. Some people don't like it because they feel like they don't have full control of the card, depending on how much of a percentage the original owner retained. I tend to love it. To me, as the person acquiring them and working with consigners, it's a giant green flag to me, as opposed to a red flag that someone wants to keep a chunk of the card. It means it's not a depreciating asset that they're just looking like, hey, give me 50 grand. I don't want this anymore. Take it and I'll go away. They still think this card's going up in value. So maybe they're only invested in it for $10,000 originally, and now it's worth $100.
Exactly.
And they don't want to sell the card, but they could use $75,000 to go invest in something else, or pay off their college loans, or make a down payment on a house. And we kind of give them the option to do that. This also leads, I think, to having our crazy supply the way that we do, is we're getting access to a lot of cards that people, frankly, don't want to sell. They're just not going to sell it, but they'll give up a little piece of it. So it's a card that the public otherwise would have zero access to because it's just not being sold. And we're able to, as a result of this retained equity kind of hook, be able to bring that to the public, which I think is a pretty cool opportunity.
Man, I really love that idea. As soon as I saw it, I was like, that's me.
Right.
I love most of the cards I get, but at the same time, because I'm a buyer and I'm in the world of buying and reselling, as well as there's cards that I know I love and I don't want to necessarily sell. And then there's some cards that I feel like are priceless at some point in time. You know, when you sell it, you sell it. You know, if I have $50,000 into a card and I turn around and I use a company like yourself and we agree to $250,000, I'm sure I could take $250,000 and and take that multiplier and still retain some equity to where if we sell it for $1 million later on, then that changes. And I love that idea because it allows me to continue to buy, allows me to continue to keep going. And I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. So congratulations to you guys.
Keep a piece of that upside, which is really the important part. And anyone that wants to keep that, obviously they think it's a good asset. You're not holding on to a piece of something that you think's going down. It just wouldn't make sense. So it's a good indicator. It's just another thing that we kind of take into account. But again, it's just another feature that kind of breaks down that barrier to entry, that these upper echelon cards were just never publicly available unless you had $500,000 to spend on them, which I don't have.
You're absolutely right. So, all right. So the next step after we acquire the card, we decide how much equity we want to keep into it. Yep. I see there was options on the app after I sell it. There's funds there. So what the app reminds me of, guys, is it's very similar to Robinhood to that regard, to where it takes you like a stock portfolio. The cards are like a stock portfolio. You can actually, I don't know if it has anything in reference to, I saw you can withdraw money and use money to reinvest, which I think is kind of cool as well. So
everything we do is fully SEC regulated. So Robinhood's actually a great analogy. When you're first signing up for an account with us, you'll feel as though you're signing up for a Robinhood account. You're going to have to give all the same information. You need to be verified. We have to know you're a real person. All the same things you'd have to give Robinhood to set up an account or E-Trade. You're going to need to give that information as well. And then from there, it does sort of act accordingly. It's a security. It's it's security that's been approved by the SEC. It's regulated by the SEC, so you know it's totally above board. And it's really a safe way to kind of get a piece of a big card that you wouldn't otherwise have a chance to get.
Yeah, and that's so dope. So I want to show everybody real quick what I was talking about. Let's see if I can pull some of the stuff here that we talked about earlier. So if I'm going to drop this over here real quick, if you guys can see this is trading assets. Can you explain what we're looking at here?
Yeah, absolutely. So once we kind of lock in an asset, so let's say between you and I, we have a card that we're going to run, and we call it a $100,000 value card. We're going to agree to a number. The company is going to write it up, submit the asset as an offering to the SEC. Everything we do has to be submitted to the SEC and approved ahead of time. So the SEC will approve it. It'll then go up on the app for the public at, call it 1 o'clock on a Tuesday. At 1 o'clock, you can go on the app, buy shares directly from the app. All you have to do ahead of time is have like a linked bank account or a linked credit card, and it'll pull the funds straight from your account when you make the purchase. After 90 days, so 90 days after the item originally is up on the platform, it will open for trading on our secondary platform. So right now, the screen you have here is showing you some of the assets that are available right now for trading that have already reached their 90-day expiration on our platform of lockup.
So if I want to go ahead and get me a 9.5, I already have a black refractor LeBron, but I don't have a 9.5. Nice. So if I want to get in on a 9.5, because I'm not telling you guys what to do, but hypothetically speaking, let's assume LeBron James is going to go up in value, which I think is a really good chance he'll do that, right? Um, I want to get invested in at $13.45 a share. I grab 100 shares, and I think you
Yeah.
guys have. I guess I was trying to figure out too is there is restrictions on how many shares I can actually get. Is that correct, or
So
how does that
that's
work?
in the original offering, the IPO. So not where you're looking now on the secondary market, but like how we said, at Tuesday at 1 o'clock, it'll open to the public. We
Mm-hmm.
do, like we said, we try to democratize access. So some of our offerings, if we basically said you can buy as many shares as you want, we'd be sold out with 7 people having bought
Yeah,
it. Someone's
because
just
I'd
going to buy
probably.
80% of the card, and it defeats the purpose.
Yep.
So we do have something called share caps on our initial
Mm.
offerings, where for the first 15 minutes, you're only allowed
Like
to buy X amount. And then if it hasn't sold out by that point, you can then buy a higher amount for the next 45 minutes. And then after an hour, it's an unlimited amount. So it's
that's
sort of a
dope.
way that we ensure enough people can kind of get in and get the experience and get a piece. On the secondary market, however, you have no restrictions. So like if you
Okay.
wanted to go buy shares of this LeBron James card, every weekday from 3 to 4 Eastern, it will trade on our app. So you just go into the app, you go to this section, you click on the LeBron James, and it'll take you to essentially another screen that gives you more details on that specific offering.
Mm. And so the next screen I know we talked about earlier was, I believe it's this screen. So this is what, can you explain what we're looking at?
Yeah, so if you were to go ahead, like we just said from the last screen, and click on that LeBron James offering, this is the screen it's going to take you to. So what this shows you is now what the performance has been over the last month, I believe is what you have the screen set to. That happens
Correct.
to be the entire performance. This asset unlocked within the last month for trading, which is why you see the flat entry to that graph. So at the initial public offering, when this first came out, shares were sold at $10 a share, which is where you see that initial price.
And that's where the restrictions come into play, correct?
Exactly. So if I think you were capped at $250 or $500 initially as your first investment, so that we could get a bunch of people in. I don't remember off the top of my head how many investors were in that offering specifically. I think it was a little over 400, if I remember right.
Right.
So it was an opportunity. Again, without the cap, we would have had 15 people. One guy would have owned 80%, and that would have been the end of it. So this screen shows you that since that date, the shares have now traded up, down, up, down, up, down. And that's really how it works and how our platform kind of works. Every day from 3 to 4, you can go and either bid on a share. So you can put in a bid or you can put in an ask if you have a share of what you're willing to sell for, what you're willing to pay for it. And then our system will essentially match them almost as though you're buying a stock, but you're buying it peer-to-peer. So for that, you do have to preload funds onto your account. Okay. So it gets a little confusing. The IPO, you don't have to have anything preloaded into your account. It'll pull straight from your funds. On the secondary market, peer-to-peer, you do need to preload funds into your account in order to make a purchase.
Now, for the people out there that are slow, like myself, peer-to-peer, when you sell, you're selling, we can actually go to a card show. You can sell me your shares of the card, your percentage of the shares to me directly, right?
Right, and you're going to do that all right on the app.
And it's based upon the trade value of what it's at right now.
Exactly. So if you go to the next screen that we talked about, you'll be able to see essentially the bids and asks on that card right now. So when I took this screenshot earlier for you, I could have gone in and right now, if I want to pay, what is it, $13.45
slash trade,
I can pay $13.45, and that's what it'll pull up. It looks like the highest bid right now is $14. So at 3 o'clock, when this essentially matches, those two would have matched up with each other, and one guy's cash would go out, one guy would get cash in, the shares would transfer on our platform. So it truly is, it's not the stock market, but it's a fair analogy in sort of the way the mechanics of it work, that what you're willing to sell a share for and what someone's willing to pay for a share might not match up. But if
it's crazy because it's like StockX almost.
That might be the better analogy.
It's a buy because people have their option of what they would like to buy it at, and if that matches up, then you have a sell, and it's like you said, peer to peer, which is where you have to have the money available for the guys out there.
We don't want anyone getting left holding the bag and thinking they sold the share, and then someone's You know what? That's just not what we're looking to have happen to a user. So you got to have the money to pay for it up front. Got to be able to be pulled out of your account right now. And essentially, this is what it will look like if you wanted to put in a bid offer. So you put in the price you want to pay, how many shares, it does the calculation for you right below where it says one share and tells you what essentially the total value of the asset is based on what you're willing to pay. So you can work backwards from that. So if you're like, oh, I think this card's worth 100K, then you just sort of do the math yourself right there. That's what it means a share is worth and what you're willing to pay for it.
All right. So since I said I used a comparison of you guys being very similar to Robinhood, are there any type of fees at all that you guys have, or is there any other restrictions?
There's a 1% fee on each trade, and that's a result of us using a secondary market called Templum. We're the only people right now using a live matching actual secondary platform. So as a result of that, everything comes with a 1% trade fee. It's pretty negligible in my opinion. If you go and you look at every other kind of E-Trade, Robinhood, everyone's charging a fee somewhere.
I'm familiar. Definitely.
Yeah, there's also, in full disclosure, if you are using a credit card as opposed to a bank account to make an IPO purchase, there's a credit card processing fee on there as well. But other than that, you're not looking for fees.
Well, that is so dope, man. So what do we look? So basically, we're just looking at just pretty much just buying shares. There's nothing really extra or special on here besides just buying shares, correct?
Yeah, I mean, each offering has sort of its own educational information on each athlete and the information on the card for sort of
and I saw that.
Yeah, so you're going to go. It's going to tell you what the pop report is. It's going to tell you how many have been graded, how many are graded higher. It's going to give you all the information you need to make a somewhat educated decision. We obviously still recommend that everybody do their own due diligence and research when making an investment. Everyone should be comfortable with what they're doing. We try and provide some data to help along with that.
Well, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I took the time to kind of read over some of the portfolio information. It's pretty thorough. I mean, they talk about sales, they talk about last sales. Doesn't talk anything about projected sales or anything like that. But that's all. It's very similar to. I would say it's very similar to you just buying a card that you feel good about. If you're buying a black refractor LeBron, so like I just said a second ago, if you feel like it's going to go back up, you probably want to get into it. And it just gives the guy at the bottom or the new person in the hobby that doesn't have, I think was a PSA 10 so for like $600,000. If you don't have $600,000 to buy a PSA 10 black refractor LeBron James, this is your opportunity. You got an opportunity to buy in around $14, a share, and you can still make money in that world. And then you still own a piece of the card. Exactly. And that's what makes it cool. So I'm definitely in. I'll probably jump into it at some point. Like I said, I've been thoroughly looking into it, and I think the black refractor is probably something I'll probably be jumping on to.
And by the way, exactly the right way to do it. Doing your research ahead of time, make sure you're comfortable with what you're doing before you make an investment. That is the right way to do it.
Yep. Now you also, I think we talked in another earlier conversation. We talked about a card that you guys have coming in pretty soon. You want to kind of talk about that? I didn't get a chance to upload the picture, but we can talk about it.
We're pretty excited about it. So it's a 1916 M101 Sporting News Babe Ruth in a PSA 7 grade. So crazy card. I saw on your guys' social, you picked up a Gowdy Ruth recently, right?
Yep. Yeah, I did. I was actually gonna get it, but like my stuff's all over everywhere, so I get a chance to put it over here. But yeah,
my wife would vouch for the same thing. She hates how my cards are strewn absolutely everywhere. As you can see, I have a stack in a briefcase over here. I've got a stack on the table over here. I was going to say
we usually make people to get on here and show something. You got to show a card that you like, that you love. Something you got to show something. I meant to prep you for that, but you got to show me something. Show me something. We like to look at cards. I mean, we can't have a card show without looking at cards, man. I'm sorry.
So this is one that I've been chasing for a while. So personally, I collect a lot of Bowman prospects of baseball. Baseball was always kind of a passion of mine. I grew up collecting football and a football fan, but I always thought I wanted to get into baseball scouting. So like the prospecting of cards with baseball always kind of connected with me. Been chasing this one for a while. I actually just picked it up last week. Is the first Bowman Kyle Tucker Superfractor.
Oh, Superfractor.
So
congratulations.
Very happy with this one. Hopefully he doesn't turn out to be a bum. That would be unfortunate. And by the way, not the kind of card I would have on our platform. Too volatile, too unproven. It's not the kind of thing that we have. But it's the kind of thing that I'll take a chance on because I like the kid and I've been following him for years.
And that's one thing I will say about your platform, what you guys' platform is, they don't take risk. Most of the stuff that's on the platform are sure bets, in my opinion. In my opinion, I'm not going to.
Nothing's a sure bet. But
I agree. But You know what I mean? Like I mean, if you buy Babe Ruth, you buy Mickey Mantle, you buy. I think I saw the Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan cards, and that stuff is popular right now. And then even the LeBron James and the Michael Jordan rookie. So if you think about all these different cards, these are legends, right?
Yeah, and
So
we really try and stick to just like the blue chip kind of guys.
exactly,
Obviously, there's
exactly.
no way to promise a return. There's no way to say this is only going up, stocks only go up, cards only go up. Like you can never say anything like that with any degree of confidence. But you can say that the odds are better with X, Y, and Z compared to other things. So we
I,
believe that the blue chip guys are sort of where we would be putting what we want. So that's where we decide to give the opportunity to our users.
I was gonna say too is so so the next step is you said something that kind of triggered this question, which is how do you determine when it's to sell? How do you determine the moment to sell as a business because you represent the investors? Like,
Yep.
did somebody come up to you and say, "Hey, man, I'm interested in buying that card," or how do you guys go about selling the card?
Yep. So this goes back to the whole democratization of the hobby approach, which is we put it to a vote. Essentially, based on how many shares you own, will receive a buyout offer. We don't go out and solicit them. So I'm not sitting here sending a card on an email blast to 20 people going like, hey, if you want to make an offer, this is what we have. People come to our app, they find it on their own. They maybe are an investor, they own a small piece of a card and they want to buy the rest of it from the app, something like that. They'll essentially reach out, let us know that they want to make a buyout offer, at which point we communicate that offer to the shareholder and we solicit a vote from the shareholders. The votes are then weighted based on how many shares you own. So this then goes back to the retained equity we talked about earlier. Some people don't like now the majority retained equity specifically for this instance. They feel like if someone keeps 50% of the card, then they get the final say on when a card is sold or what. So their vote doesn't really matter. The counter to that is all of that information is completely available ahead of time. If for some reason you don't like having that feeling, then just don't buy into the stuff.
Don't buy into it. Yeah.
Like that's honestly my answer. I like it personally. Some people don't. Everyone's entitled to their own thing. You're investing how you want. You're owning your cards how you want. I'm never going to tell someone how to do what they want. Just eyes open. All the information's there ahead of time. Be aware of it.
All right, so I have a question real quick. So because of that reason, is it possible that you guys would have more than one of the same exact card with different options? So like
So
a black
we have
refractor
it to
maybe
date.
has equity with 30% versus somebody that has 50% for that reason. So it's not saying I love the black refractor LeBron, but I don't really like the stipulations on that one. But this one is better because I got the 30% option where we are the majority owner, me, the investors, we're the majority owner versus the other guys, the, majority owner. So is ever something you guys going to do or?
We haven't to date. And I honestly don't know if we'll have a need to, just because if someone buys in, and again, this is just my personal opinion of it. If someone buys into something that has a big chunk of retained equity, the way to get your money out, you don't have to wait for a buyout. We offer such an amount of liquidity that you can trade that card literally every single day, 5 days a week, if you want to sell your shares, that you can just go sell your shares individually. You don't have to wait for a total buyout if you don't want. So there's other platforms that are a little less liquid and the trading windows are a little further spaced out. That I could then understand maybe having a high retained equity, a low retained equity offering. But the way we have it now, I'm a little worried they would just cannibalize each other on the secondary market. And we offer such easy in and out liquidity as it stands right now that if you want out, you can get out at a reasonable price.
Because all I have to do is create my account and say, hey, I'm interested in buying in. I'll pay $14 a share. And then everybody knows it. If somebody says, hey, I'll take $14 a share. I'll get out. I make it, if I got 1,000 shares, I make $400. I'm probably not mad. It's like, whatever. And just go from there. That makes sense. I think it's a really good idea. You guys figured it out. Like I told you in the past, I had people who hit me up trying to give me money to try to invest in the cards, and I really didn't feel comfortable doing it. And with your platform, like you give that opportunity to someone out there who does not have the time and energy to try to figure things out. So First Impression TV said, maybe I missed you talking about this, but just wondering what cards you guys aim to make available to invest in. So the answer to that, you want to answer that? Go ahead, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, I could sit here and try and list them. I've got 100+ cards coming right now in our app. The simplest answer, honestly, is to download the app and just go look. We have probably 50 upcoming cards listed right now. It's everything from Trae Young to Lionel Messi, Alexander Ovechkin. You said Mike Tyson, Hulk Hogan, Babe Ruth. If it's an attractive card, if it's something that's a popular card right now, and it's something that's of a certain financial threshold, we're open to bringing it to our users.
That's great. That's great. But guys, Breaking Bangers on there, and they're local, so they're on. It just says sounds nice. So
Yeah.
I definitely think people are definitely interested in what you guys have, which is why we wanted to break this platform and introduce you guys to Collectable. So you guys can ask any questions that you guys may have. Feel free to just throw it out there.
Yeah, happy
We'll
to
try to answer
anything.
it as much as possible. If not, I think you kind of answered most of my questions about it, and we kind of have I have a little more understanding than I had before. And I know we talked a little bit earlier today, twice today, about what you guys have going on in the future of Collectable. I mean, what is the future for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's to keep doing what we're doing. I think progress and competition definitely breeds improvement in this hobby. And I think you're seeing that a lot recently with a lot of these companies and ideas that have kind of sprouted up, and everyone's being really agile and reacting to the feedback. And that's really sort of why I wanted to come on here and talk to you and your viewers, and why I'm loving to kind of get any questions, is we're looking to design our business and design sort of our platform moving forward for the user, which is why, again, we have collectors inside. We have collectors on the cap table, new platform for it. So we're the only all sports investment platform, and we're going to build it that way.
Great. I know Huey P says, how are the amount of shares determined? That's a good question.
So it's pretty simple. You work backwards. Like we said, we come up with total value for the card, and most of our share prices are either $1 to $5 or $10 a share. Most of our offerings are $10 a share. So the minimum investment is $10. You want to buy one share, it's going to cost you $10. As a result, if it's a $100,000 card, $100,000 offering, it's going to be 10,000 shares at $10 a share, and that's essentially the way we determine it.
I kind of like it because I tell people, I like the fact, and I had this conversation with somebody else. Most of your shares are around $10, which I think is great, because I think when people talk about, like, if you think about scratch off tickets like $20. You're right in that threshold for somebody who just wants to, maybe you don't hit the lottery like you want to hit the lottery, but you spend $20, you get 2 shares. You wait a month, you made a week or 2 weeks. I don't know what the turnaround is, because it's not anything that's for certain there. But you're buying the right thing, you're investing in the right thing, you'll make money. It's a guaranteed sure shot versus as long as you're doing the right thing, right? You're doing your research and everything else, you'll do better. Let's see. Breaking Banner says, how are your cards comped out for initial values? I think he answered that already. But
yes, we talked about it briefly, but it's the same way you would probably comp one out. You'd look at Golden, at Heritage, recent eBay sales, My Slabs, you sort of project out from there. I have my own sort of numbers that I use, ratios here and multipliers there, and everyone's kind of got their own thing. We have a very trusted group of appraisers that we use, of collectors, our own network. It's really the same way anyone else would comp anything out. We don't have a secret sauce or a secret button that we push that tells us what it's worth or anything like that.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Oh, yeah. He says he was late. That's on me. Yeah, it's no problem. I know you're just not getting here, but yeah, guys, if you have any other questions, feel free to go ahead and throw them out there. We'll try to answer as much as possible. If you want to pivot a little bit,
what we have upcoming, like I said, it's tough to really answer. We've had 75 completed IPOs since September. Roughly around 12 million so far in total funding. We have about $43 million in consignments under management right now coming. So when I tell you we've had 75 since September at 12 million, that means we have another 30 million still coming. So we could be here for the next 2 hours if I list everything that we've got coming up.
All right, so I'm gonna backtrack a little bit because I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. How long has the company been? I mean, how did this idea come out? And how long has this company been out?
So Collectable's actually been around for a while. Prior to it being a fractional investment platform, we were the largest data aggregator for sports auctions. And that was essentially what the app was used for. We launched in January of 2020, relaunched as a fractional investment app with our first IPO in September. So relatively new. I mean, we've only been live and taking investments and offering items since September of 2020. So in the grand scheme of things, relatively new. But the company has been around for a while in different iterations.
That's how it usually works. Most companies, they come out with an idea, they it maybe may or not be successful, maybe successful in another way, and then they pivot a little bit to something different. I used to have a business as well, mobile marketing as well, so I had to pivot a little bit and do something different. That's why I ended up getting good at marketing. So hey, go figure, right? But
Yeah.
so I say that to say that just because you have a great, you can have a great idea, and sometimes it may take you a little bit longer to kind of figure out where it can go.
Right,
So,
where it fits in. Yep.
um, so kudos to you guys for figuring it out, because like I said, I was trying to figure it out and I couldn't figure it out, but you guys clearly have. So kudos to you guys.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean, honestly, it's and I consider myself a hobby insider just because I was collecting for a long time before I even did this as a profession. So to really feel as though this is being designed from the inside for the inside, I think is very important.
hmm. I agree. So, how long have you been working for the company? I know you guys did your first IPO in like September, and
Yeah, so I came on in October. Prior to
okay,
that, I spent the previous 5 years working and managing the ecom team for one of the larger sports memorabilia companies in the space. After I left them, I was sort of running my own little fund with some friends, investing in cards for the better part of a year,
yeah,
and was sort of doing my own research, trying to decide who I wanted to partner with, maybe what I wanted to start on my own, the next opportunity. Kind of connected with Ezra, our CEO, over the summer, and immediately locked into how great of an idea it was and how much I believe that fractional is the future. It's just
mm-hmm,
such a great way on the upper and lower end of the hobby to open the door.
mm-hmm,
I mean, when we're talking about what's a good example? Last week we had a $200,000 Fernando Tatis first Bowman black label. So it's the only
mm-hmm,
black label Tatis Bowman in existence across any color, autograph, non-autograph. Great card. For a card like that, I mean, it's something we would never be able to get before that we're now able to get and split up into pieces and sort of offer to our users. And we'll see what happens with it. But it's that barrier to entry that a $200,000 Fernando Tatis card, not always the easiest thing to sell. So now it's
mm-hmm.
much easier for the high end of the market to move an item. And now it's easier and even physically possible where it wasn't before for the lower end of the market to get a piece of that item. So it's really
Exactly.
the top and the bottom, bringing everything towards the middle. I know I keep using the phrase democratizing access,
It's
but
okay.
it's really what we're trying to do.
Hey, and honestly, I felt like companies like yourselves were out there, just waiting for the opportunity, and I think the opportunity is now.
Yep.
I tell a lot of my friends and family as collectors, you'll start seeing a lot of the high end stuff start to disappear, and once it starts disappearing, base
It's going away for a
cards
while.
and yeah, it'll be going away for a while, and by the time you see it again, it'll be, who knows what the numbers will be. Sometimes I meet collectors who haven't pulled out things in 20 years,
Right.
and as you guys probably know, on my Instagram, I recently acquired the PMG Green Giannis. Guy had it for 20 years. I mean, I mean not 20 years, but he had it
For
over,
10
I think,
years, yeah, and
almost
he
close
wasn't
to 10,
moving it.
yeah, at least 10 years. So at the time, he wasn't moving; he was just sitting there, and we had no idea what it was worth. I had no idea what it was worth. And then most recently, the BGS 9 sold for $97,000, and how we have an idea of what it's worth. So I say that to say, when you see people pull out collections that are that old and you don't know what it's worth, I mean, you have to kind of like, you guys going to continue to eat the stuff up, and
Yep.
the
And
base
I keep
cards going
telling
to just
people,
flourish.
yeah, I keep telling people you need to start taking into account when looking at pop reports, when looking at comps, when
Yep.
looking at all kinds of things like that. I mean, a great example, and I saw, I think Chad was it talked about the Ty Cobb PSA 10, one of your viewers,
Mm-hmm.
that's a pop too. I mean, it's a red
Yeah.
back Ty Cobb PSA 10. We have one of them. To me, now it's a pop one. I mean, ours isn't
Wow.
frankly going anywhere unless someone comes and buys it out. So the other one on the market is frankly the only one that's available.
Wow.
So like
So if I
you're
want to get
taking
in on
cards
it,
out of circulation now.
I gotta buy, and see, that was one of the things I was trying to figure out. Going back to a conversation we talked about, and like, a card you might have might be bought out in 6 months. It might be bought out in 6 years. It could be 20 years, based upon what our conversation is saying. Because when I was talking to people about investing with your company, I'm like, I don't really necessarily know how long you have to sit on something, but I have a little bit better of an understanding, knowing that you have a system put in place for, if you're ready to sell,
Yep.
you put in a number what you're willing to take. there are people already put out there that are willing to pay based upon those amount of shares, and now they can buy into it, which
Yeah, I
actually
mean,
is a very smart
there's
idea
two
and
great
concept.
examples I can use from history, actually, of exits that we've completed. One
Mm-hmm.
is we had a PSA 8.5 Sandy Koufax card that we had IPO'd in January for $36,000.
Uh-huh.
They received a $62,000 buyout offer in January. So I think it was a week after the card IPO'd. For
Wow.
36, they received a $62,000 offer that they voted to reject. Then received an $80,000 offer in February that they voted to reject, and then
Wow.
accepted a $100,000 offer in March.
That's
So
amazing.
they had an
That's
opportunity right
amazing.
away. They had another opportunity a month after that, and then a third. We just IPO'd a Wilt Chamberlain PSA 9 61 Fleer
I saw
on
that.
the 4th for 200, and then we got an offer on the 8th for 350 that they accepted and exited. So I mean that was 4
Wow.
days, and we got an offer for 350. So
Yeah,
sometimes
so
it's super quick. Sometimes you can wait until the expiration, the lockup window expires, and sell your shares. Sometimes you get
yeah.
a buyout offer 3 days after the initial offering. So it's
And
really
that's
up to the
where
market.
and it goes back to what you said. You have to do the research, right? So you guys give general information, but there's other things that play a key to trying to figure out what's a worthy buy. You just said a Ty Cobb, Pop two. You own
Right.
one, so there's only one on the market. And
Right. There's
where's it
ours,
at?
which is locked in a vault, and
Exactly,
frankly, we're not selling it unless someone comes in and the users decide to sell it. So if you want to
exactly.
go buy one, there's only one you can go buy now. And like
Mm,
that needs to be taken into account. At the same time, those buyout offers on that PSA 8.5 Sandy, the $62,000 offer at that time would have been a record sale. It was declined.
wow.
The
Mm,
$80,000 offer at the time would have been a record sale. It was declined. So not only are these affecting pop reports now, but I do truly believe that these things are going to start affecting comps, general comps. So I mean, the
oh wow.
$100,000 Sandy Koufax 8.5 buyout set a new record comp. Just because it
You
wasn't
make
an
this.
auction doesn't mean it's not the new high comp.
Is there a way on your app to see everything that's sold
Yep.
for you
So
guys?
if you scroll
Okay,
down at the bottom of the app, it'll show everything that's been exited.
that's nice. All right, so for you guys that are listening and watching, the app has everything there. First Impression TV says, "Do all the shares made available of the card have to sell in order to invest?" No.
Yes. So
Was that right? I would say I thought it was be no, but go ahead. You can
yeah,
answer.
on the front end, yes. So I mean, if we have a card that has 10,000 shares at $10 a share for the initial public offering, and all 10,000 shares don't sell, the card won't consider fully funded, and it won't be available to trade. Once a card
Mm,
does fully fund, yes, then shares are able to be invested and can be moved. But there's always the chance, we haven't to date run into this, but there is always the chance that something isn't priced correctly. The market doesn't agree with our pricing of it. They think we're too high priced. And as a result, not all the shares sell. If that were to occur, the asset would be returned to the original owner. Everybody that bought a share would be refunded, and we would just end up eating whatever operating loss there would be. And it would be as though it never happened for the owner or for the people investing. But assuming that an
wow.
offering is fully funded, everything is then going to trade on the secondary platform with the understanding it's not bought out before that.
Wow. All right. So did he answer? I hope he answered you guys' questions. If you have any additional questions, feel free. We got about another 10 or 15 minutes before we go ahead and jump off.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'm also, by the way, if anyone after the fact or anyone that's watching not live wants to ask a question, we're
mhm.
trying to be as transparent and as accessible as possible. You can always find me on Instagram, on Twitter. My email's dan@collectable.com. I love talking to our users. Like I said, we're
There
building
we
this
go.
for our users. So dump whatever you got on me. Questions, comments, advice. I'm here for it.
All right, guys. So also, we want to make sure they're there for the Prism Guy. Culture Collision show in July. We're gonna make sure these guys are there. It's going to be our trade sports card show in July, July 16th through the 19th. I'm sorry, 18th through the 19th. And we'll make sure you guys are there and hopefully be able to answer some questions, maybe take some submissions, maybe will and deal
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
network with us, um, especially for the Atlanta market. Say, does the app show how many shares are available to buy? Yes, it does. I
Yep,
can answer
absolutely. Is. So
that.
honestly, if you download it, it's about as not as simple, but it's as logic based as you would think it can be. If you think that clicking on something should take you to this landing page, it's probably going to. If you pull it up, it's going to tell you at the bottom what the total market cap is, how much equity is being retained, how many the shares are outstanding, what the price of the share is. All that information is going to be in there. Nothing's hidden.
And I'm not gonna say kudos to you guys again for pulling this off. I think what you're doing is amazing. I appreciate you giving us the time, and I appreciate you guys also for listening and being proactive in this conversation as well.
Yeah, thank
Apologize
you
again
for
for
what you're
probably
doing
correcting my
and kind
idea.
of sharing information with the hobby and educating. And
Yeah,
without you guys, there's really only so much that a company can do without sort of people talking about it and knowing what they're doing
exactly.
and promoting it. So it's always appreciated.
Man, again, it was just literally an idea. I mean, I was just trying to figure out what's going on, and I think I think Gary Vee might have talked about fractional investing.
Yep.
I think I might have seen it come across the timeline, and I was like, I wonder if that's what Collectable was doing. And I literally I never, because I don't think you guys listed as the terminology on your page as fractional investing, do you? I don't think I caught it on there.
We call
Is
ourselves,
it?
it's a fractional investment platform. So yeah,
Okay.
we
All right.
still
So
call it
maybe I
that.
saw it on there then. Maybe it's what I saw. I can't remember where the idea necessarily came from. I just one day
It's
I
a
was
bit of
like,
a loaded phrase because, frankly, all investing is fractional investing. If you're buying a share
mm-hmm,
of Facebook, you're buying a fractional piece of the company. So
mm-hmm.
it's a bit of a loaded, like overqualified share phrase. But yes,
Yeah.
it's fractional investing in the fact that you're not buying the entire card. Same way you're not buying the entire company.
Stocks company. Exactly. I guess, when I was doing day trading, I never really I never used that terminology before, unfortunately. So this is kind of new to me, but it
Yeah.
makes sense. Chad says the app is very easy to use and understand, and I agree. I agree with that. So you guys are doing a great job. I guess is there any other questions you guys have for us? We got about 9 more minutes before
Yeah,
we
please.
shop off. Feel free. Let's see. Also, I know you say you're more like football guy. So who you rooting for the Super Bowl this year?
I mean, I would love to
Tom
say the
Brady again?
Giants. It's not going to happen, but
Tom Brady again?
it might.
Pat
You know
Mahomes?
what? Nothing he does would shock me anymore. By the way, growing up as a Giants fan, people always ask me, like, do you hate Tom Brady? Why would I hate Tom Brady? He never beat us. Like, I'm fine with it.
That's
He's
true.
great. He's the GOAT for sure. I have no
Yeah.
ill will towards him because he never stood in our way. So not a problem.
Man, that's crazy. Said Jordan autograph bat tomorrow. Can't wait. So I guess it's
Yeah,
going to
so
be on their site
that's something I
tomorrow.
probably should have mentioned is we don't just do cards. We do also handle sports memorabilia items. So what he's talking about tomorrow is we have a minor league game used and autographed bat from when Michael Jordan was playing baseball. So
Wow.
cool little item. We have a partnership with a really great collection based out of Florida called Sports Immortals, who agreed to consign a lot of their very cool items through us. So if you go back and look through the app, you'll see there's like a Muhammad Ali championship belt. There's
I saw that. Yeah.
Sandy Koufax game used jersey and all kinds of things like that. That mostly comes from our Sports Immortals partnership. Mm-hmm. The amount of stuff they have is mind-blowing. I was lucky enough to get a tour of their vault in Florida. I think if I have the number right, there's something like less than 200 people have ever been in the vault, period. It would make your jaw drop to the floor, the stuff that they have. There's trunk after trunk after trunk of, you open the trunk, you pull it up, and it's Satchel Paige jersey, Josh Gibson jersey, Ted Williams jersey, like gamer. It will.
Well, I'm sure with what you do, I mean, when you doing acquisitions, you see some of the dopest stuff in the world anyway.
It's great.
I mean, like, to what extent, I mean, I know I'm talking a little bit more, but to what's the furthest you've went to look at a collection? Have you been overseas, like China or Russia, anything like that?
Yet. So we do have a couple consignments that we've taken from Canada and from overseas locations. I haven't traveled over to any of them yet, mostly due to COVID restrictions. I mean, we launched at a very unique time for this. It benefited us a couple ways. Number one, we're mostly remote, so we really are able to just kind of bring on the talent for the team no matter where it is, which is great.
Yep.
Number two is it's really kind of restricted our ability to do face-to-face stuff. I know you and I bumped into each other at the show in Dallas. I went to those two shows, but for the last, 18 months, those two shows in Dallas has been the extent of my public interaction.
Hey, well, that'll change hopefully with the new shows that are coming about. I know we got the Miami show coming up. We have my show coming up.
We'll be
gotta come to Atlanta, man.
We'll be there.
Yes. So for all the people out there, we're actually going some great news. I'm gonna, I want to publicly announce it. Basically, we have a new show called Culture Collision in Atlanta. Me and my boy Charlie, we putting it together, and we want to invite everybody out. We're gonna have over 400 tables, and we want to invite companies like Collectable to the show to educate everybody on what's going on in the hobby, as well as having those vendors. And we also want to add sneakers as well. So that's why Culture Collision is. We're going to have sneakers. We're going to have Pokemon. We're going to have Magic the Gathering. We're going to have comics. whatever you can think of at the show. So, I think it's a great opportunity for a blend
Yeah.
of cultures
And we
and
were talking about
education.
it
So it's
before
going to be
that
fun.
the crossover between those
Yep.
sectors are just so huge, between shoes and Pokemon and comics and
Yep.
Funko, and we're all the same animal, just with a little bit of a different shade of color. And
Correct.
the more that we all get along with each other and learn about what everyone else is doing, the better it's going to be for everybody. So we'll definitely be there, and I'd love the opportunity to meet anybody and answer any
Yep.
questions, chat. It's like I said, I've pulled off a scam. I've managed to do nothing but talk about sports for a living for 10 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
Happy to keep doing it. So anytime anyone wants to chat, I'm here.
Well, that's the way I've been taking it. Every Wednesday, I get to talk about what I love to do, so it's really easy to do. Most of the time,
Yeah,
we
it's
go
not work. You love
unscripted.
what you're doing.
Most of the time, this stuff is unscripted. We literally go live. We talk about what we do, what we enjoy doing, traveling. And I literally, genuinely was like interested in Collectable, and I was like, "What is this?" I reached out to you guys on, literally, guys. I don't think you guys understand.
Yeah, we're
I
quick.
reached out to you guys. I reached out to you guys 2 days ago, probably on. I think it was Sunday or Monday.
Yeah, it
two
was Monday.
days ago. Yeah, it was Monday. So Monday, I talked to these guys. Hey, I need somebody to come on here on the show and talk about the show because I want to talk about fractional investing. Done. Very simple, very transparent, and these guys have been great talking to us about what's going on and willing to answer questions. I mean, this is for you guys out there and myself because I'm always looking for ways to make things better and get into something else because maybe you guys are alternative instead of me going back into the stock market. I want to get back into the stock market, but I think you guys maybe maybe a good alternative. So I'm really looking forward to what you guys have to show us for the future. Wish you guys good luck, and I wish you good luck
Really appreciate
about
it.
So you're not CEO yet, but maybe you will be. I'll be
We've got a pretty great one as it stands right now. So
Hey,
I'm
you
not
know
doing
what?
a
Kudos.
great job, but
I haven't met him yet, but hopefully I will, and we'll have some good conversations. We'll have dinner, do something fun,
awesome.
and honestly, like I said, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about what's going on. See, Chad says he's serious. He told me to call anytime I had a concern.
Yeah, Chad's a great guy. I've talked to Chad a couple times, and this is what I'm talking about. We love interacting with our users, and anytime anyone wants to talk, I try to make myself as accessible as I can. I've only got so many hours in the day, so if you don't hear back from me for a little bit, I do apologize, but I will get back to you. I love talking to our users and other collectors, and that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I definitely will. We'll definitely talk. Question: because you work for the company, can you invest Can you invest into shares?
I can. I don't get any kind of special access or anything, so I'm sure Chad has been cut out a couple times of things he wasn't able to get a piece of, and he knows I've been cut out of a couple of those as well. So it is a rush sometimes to get in and get your shares, but I am thankfully not excluded from being able to participate.
Nice, that's dope. So when you see something, you're like, "Yeah, I'm on it." So the
Yeah,
Ty
I
Cobb,
try to do my best.
So do you own Ty Cobb? You got some of the Ty Cobb?
Yeah, I have a couple pieces of that. I have a couple pieces of the LeBron card you were talking about. I tend to be a believer in the majority of the stuff that we have, so I try to get whatever I can.
I mean, like I said, the stuff I've seen, I was been like, okay, that makes sense. This makes sense. Like you said, it's blue chip stuff. So most of this stuff, again, are pretty solid investments. And I think that's good for you guys. I mean, picking up the right stuff. And fortunately, it's because of you. And you're one of the guys in acquisitions. You're picking the right stuff. You're bringing the right stuff to the table to where we can take the time to invest into it. And to me, you doing your job makes it easier for me as an investor to do the right thing, especially with your information you put out there for us.
And the idea is to get you access to something you wouldn't be able to get on your own. So like you can go buy a Ronald Acuna Topps update by yourself. You don't need me.
Exactly.
I'm going to bring you something blue chip. I'm going to bring you what we just had. We had a gold BGS 9.5 Acuna.
All right, so guys, I think we lost him, but I think he'll be back in a second. Let's see if he jumps back on. Let's see, Dan. Let's see, my boy Dan Dan's back.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there.
It's all right, man. Restream sometimes.
Glad it happened at the end, not the beginning.
Right. So we got about a minute, guys. If you have any questions or concerned, feel free to hit us up. I appreciate you guys listening. I'll just say that while we're waiting on questions. I want to say I appreciate you guys jumping in, listening, chiming in, being proactive. Again, Dan, I appreciate you and your company for coming by and taking the time to educate us.
The platform with us.
Yeah, collectibles is dope. I mean, I always say collectibles, but I know it's just collectible. But it's
a common.
Throw an S on there, man. Just put an S on that thing, man. You got to put an S.
It's
collectibles, because you're more than just collectible.
Yep,
it's like collectibles. But I really appreciate you taking the time, and I guess that's it for me. And I
Yeah,
mean,
anytime.
next
I,
week,
I mean,
guys.
I'll be seeing you in Miami, I'm sure. And
Yes,
anytime
I'll be
you
there.
want us back on or you want Ezra, I'm sure Ezra will come join. And we're happy. Like I said, as transparent and accessible as we can be. That's our mission statement. So anything you
Dope,
guys
man.
need, any questions, please do not hesitate. Get in touch.
Yes, Chad, appreciate you too. Great interview. Uh, this was awesome. This was fun. In the future, can we bring you back on? I
Yeah,
know. Right
absolutely.
now.
Anytime. I'm happy. Like I
All
said,
right,
man, we're
cool.
as accessible as we can be. I'm here to talk anytime you want. I love doing it.
So I may bring you in come football season when we start talking about football previews. It doesn't have to be collectibles. We can bring you in for fun. We
Yeah,
can talk about
absolutely. So
anything.
I'll tell
All
you.
right,
By
so
the way, what got me back into cards, and just to circle
yeah,
back around, is I was a huge fantasy sports guy. So like I always believed, if I know what a fantasy guy's going to do, then I should be able to predict what someone's card's going to do. And it's that
hey,
analogy. So I'm happy to talk sports whenever. It doesn't have to be card related.
man, I tell my friends all the time. I'm like, I have so many friends who are so good at fantasy football and they love
Dude,
sports.
you're
And I'm
leaving
like,
money on
you
the
need to
table.
get
If you
into
know what you're
cards. I'm
doing.
like, I tell them all the time, like, you should be doing cards. I have a friend named Terrell. If Terrell's watching, man, shout out to Terrell. This guy is a football fanatic. He can tell you who's going to do
Yep.
good, who's going to play well. I usually ask him and say, hey, man, who's going to play good this year? And then I start looking at their cards. And I'm like, man, you're just missing it. Like you're missing that
Yep.
opportunity. So it's crazy. So
No,
for all the
I
sports
completely
people
agree.
out
The
there,
analogies between the two are so simple and so clear that it's like, look, if you can predict performance here and you can predict it like mathematically and sabermetrically, then you should be able to predict someone's card values accordingly. Like you're leaving
exactly.
money on the table. So that's what got me into it originally. So like I said, baseball prospecting, scouting, football, it's all of that. The cards are the physical manifestation of my passion in sports. So I'm happy to
Dope.
talk anytime.
Dope. Well, Dan, again, I really appreciate you joining us. And we'll talk again next time. And you can hit me up anytime. And we'll be here. You'll be
Absolutely.
hearing from me next week because we'll be rolling out some of the sponsors and people who will be a part of my trade
Yeah,
show
for
here in Atlanta.
We'll be there.
And we definitely want you guys to be there. We were definitely inviting you guys out. And we'll talk more about it next week. And guys, as I continue to roll out more information about the Sports Card Show, I'll talk to you guys more about it next week. We'll take a little bit more time for it. Sorry in advance for Kobe Collector not showing up, but I think we did a pretty good job, Dan. I
I,
think we
I
did a
think we
pretty good
held our
job.
own. We were all right.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
think we
embarrass
did all right.
myself too much, I hope.
Oh man, I think I did in the beginning. I was a little nervous because I wasn't really nervous. I was more so upset, and that was just my fault.
Well, it's
But
just stuff gets thrown off your game all the time, and it's just like,
exactly.
yeah, I get
I'm
it.
like,
Trust me.
okay, let me see how I'm gonna do this.
Yep.
But we really appreciate you joining in, and you can have a great night.
Yeah. Thanks
Have a
again
great
for
night.
having me.
Appreciate you. Bye. All right, guys. So this is your boy PrizmGawd, and we really appreciate you guys chiming in to this afternoon or this night, tonight, or this evening, or whatever. And you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. Today we had the great guy Dan come by from a Collectable, and he talked about the application and investing, fractional investment. So we really appreciate you guys coming by, listening. And if you have any questions, concerns, you can always hit me up on PrizmGawd on IG. You can always follow me on YouTube. Feel free to click and subscribe for all the new users out there. Appreciate you, Manny, for the information. We really appreciate you guys chiming in and being proactive in what's going on. It's very important if you're in a hobby to make sure you give back to the hobby. So whether it be you educate somebody, a younger person going forward, or we continue to enjoy and educate each other. So it's important that we take the time to, not take things for granted. So I say that to say thank you guys for your support. Every time I go to a show, every time I go live or I do something different, you guys are always there for me in my endeavors. So I appreciate you guys' support. As I continue to look for growth in myself to be a better collector or an investor, I try to do the same things for the people around me in my circle and the people who are listening. So I say that to say, keep going, keep striving, work on being better, and much success to everybody that's out here listening. And good night.